Hi, it's Zeke with the Eastside Church of Christ in Baytown, Texas. Thanks for joining us for our Eastside Bible reading for the week of May 24th through the 30th, 2020. As we continue on in 2 Samuel in the life of David, you recall back in chapter 12, Nathan the prophet had warned David that because of his sin with Bathsheba, that calamity was going to rule David's house. And in chapter 13, we see that calamity hit like a whirlwind. David's firstborn son, Amnon, makes advances towards his half-sister Tamar, and eventually he forces himself upon her, even though she pleads with him. Please do not do this disgraceful thing, she begs, but he does. After that, it says he hated her. And though his daughter had been devastated, David didn't say anything, it seems, to Amnon. And why would he, when he was guilty of sexual sin himself? Another of David's sons, Absalom, allows Tamar to come stay in his house. And apparently, because Tamar is his full sister, he feels tenderly towards her. And he begins to plot the slow-cooking plan of revenge to get back at Amnon. And eventually he does. He exacts Amnon's death 2 full years later. Brother struck down brother, just as in the world's first murder. Absalom fled, but eventually he was allowed back home, where his bitterness grew so strong that he began to conspire to usurp David's throne, to take the kingdom for himself. And this rebellion grew, and David had to hurriedly evacuate Jerusalem and seem to resign himself to whatever might unfold. Meanwhile, Mephibosheth, remember him, Saul's grandson? He starts to wonder if maybe all this is happening in order for him to take the kingdom for himself. Well, Absalom's rebellion grew. He had so many followers. He enters Jerusalem seemingly triumphant, and he lays claim to everything that had belonged to his father. But David had an ally still in Jerusalem. And in that circle of Absalom's counselors, David's ally helps. And after some palace intrigue, eventually Absalom ends up slain while David mourns his death. Well, David was restored as king. But immediately, almost, it seems he had to quash another rebellion. And it seems that from here on, division in a once united kingdom would eventually become a permanent thing. David decided to take a census, which, for reasons we don't know, angered God. And so God sent a pestilence. And in repentance, David built an altar. And though he did it on land that he bought, he could have had that land for free. This land would eventually become what's today known as the Temple Mount. He could have had that land for free, but instead he told the owner of the land that he would pay full price for it. In fact, in his words, David said, "I will not offer burnt offerings to Yahweh my God, which cost me nothing." There's a lot of good lessons in that statement of David. Finally, as we go into the New Testament, the last chapter of Acts impresses us with Paul's continued determination to teach the truth about Jesus, even though he's imprisoned. And he does just that. And the end of the book, well, the work doesn't really end, because the work in the book of Acts continues even still today. Romans 1 through 4 lays out the guilt of everyone, Jew and Gentile. And it leads Paul into his wonderful treatise of justification by faith, which he begins with Abraham in chapter 4. As we go through the Psalms, Psalm 3 was written during one of David's lowest points as he was fleeing from Absalom, his son. Psalm 18 is a song of thanks by David to God for deliverance. Psalm 34 blesses God for his vigilant care of David. Psalm 63 is a psalm that was written when David was a fugitive, yet he found opportunity in that psalm to still hope in God in the midst of pursuit of his enemies. We barely scratched the highlights in our Old Testament reading today. And our New Testament reading, as we begin Romans, is going to be deep, theologically rich, and well worth your time to read and reread. Again, thanks for joining us in our Bible reading for this week, and we'll catch you next time. God bless you.